Hello, I'm Kiran and welcome to my woodworking channel. In this video, I'll build a modern bedside table or a nightstand, however you prefer to call it. Let's quickly get to the build. I've hoarded over 100 board feet of poplar, so that's what I've decided to use in this project. I mark it roughly and rough cut it at the compound miter saw. These boards are over 6 inches wide, so they won't fit through my jointer, so I use my track saw to edge joint one side. This is way easier this way anyway. And then I surface jointed the board on my benchtop jointer. This board was about 50 inches long and my benchtop jointer was struggling a bit, so I think I found the limit. And then I ran all the boards through the planer and the table saw to get them S4S. I'm using the dominoes to align the boards. The dominoes are not necessary for long grain glue up, but they help keep the boards really flat. This is important because the board width would be wider than what my planer can handle. And then onto the glue up. I'm going to be cutting this board into individual parts for the tabletop, but I wanted to glue them up as one long board to keep the grain continuous. A quick round of sanding to get rid of the glue squeeze out, and on to milling more pieces for the legs and the cross support. The legs and the cross supports join at weird angles, and I didn't want to do a lot of math, so I decided to create templates. Not only does it help me to replicate all the angles, but also it helps me to replicate all the parts. This is where the track saw is worth its weight in gold, because it has the ease of use of jigsaw with the accuracy of the table saw. A quick cleanup at the bandsaw and the belt sander. Now this is how the cross support and the legs will join. Another advantage of templates is that you can lay them out to avoid bad parts in hardwood like knots and knot holes. Once all the pieces were marked, I cut them out at the bandsaw just outside the template line. I'll be using a tiny pattern bit to transfer the template onto the workpiece, and then I'll true it up with the flush trim bit. Big pattern bits exist, but they are a little scary to work with. I'm using the double-sided tape to hold the template onto the workpiece. I transfer the template and then I remove the template and flush it up with the flush trim bit. So the cross support pieces kind of get a rabbit joint. So I marked the area to cut and mark the waist area and then cut it out on the bandsaw. After the rough cut, I trued it up with a chisel. And this is how they go together. You can see even the curves at the bottom are lining up nicely. onto dominoing the cross support to the legs. One thing that I didn't film is that I numbered these pieces to make sure that I know where each one goes. Okay, all I had to do is put them together like jigsaw puzzles. I hope if I did this right. And they line up. I add a quick chamfer to the legs. Onto gluing up the legs to the cross support and throwing a bunch of clamps at them. And then I turn my attention to the tabletop. The tabletop is a box that has a front chamfer and has a miter joint. The front chamfer is not a through chamfer, has a small lip at the top, which I think frames the box nicely. And then I cut them into 4 individual pieces and cut them at 45 degrees to get it ready for miter jointing. And then on to gluing up the box. I'm using the blue painter's tape as clamps along with the bendy clamp or ratchet clamp, however you want to call it. After the glue dries, I do a quick sanding and then mix up epoxy to fill all the knot holes on the tabletop. On to building the drawer. This is nothing fancy, just 4 sides and a dado at the bottom to get the plywood that will be the drawer bottom. I cut out a 1/4 inch plywood to act as a drawer bottom here. I'll be doing through dominoes to join the drawer. I secure all sides temporarily with a screw and remove the screw and put the domino in its place. You can see that in the drawer assembly here. I cut off the excess domino at the bandsaw and then sand it flush. Now on to installing the slides for the drawer. The drawer sides were too thin for the screw, so I added a little piece of wood for additional support. And then I sanded the legs and cleaned out the insides and softened the edges of the tabletop. Final sanding and cleaned out everything with mineral spirit. I'll be applying a mixture of Wypon poly and Danish oil for the finish. I cut the false front to fit exactly the opening, so I had to take small passes at the jointer to make sure it fits perfectly. And then I decided to build a custom drawer pull with the same curvature as the cross supports. So I used the same template and cut it out and extrude it up. A quick chamfer to the false front and attach the drawer pull to the false front. I wiped off all the dust nibs and applied some wax. And then I positioned and secured the legs to the tabletop. I attached the false front to the drawer with the double-sided tape and secured it with glue and screw. With that done, this project is complete. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you.